discover the story of Charles Walgreen Sr., who revolutionized the world of drugstores. He founded a chain of drugstores that would outsell all other drugstore chains, regardless of size. He built an empire up until 1998. It all began on a farm near Galesburg, Illinois. Charles Rudolph Walgreen was born October 9, 1873, to Charles Walgreen and Ellen Olson Walgreen. Both his parents were natives of Sweden. His father later moved his family to Dixon, Illinois. After working as a bookkeeper for a time, he went to work in a Dixon shoe factory for $4 a week. An industrial accident cost him part of a finger on his left hand, and the doctor who treated him persuaded him to become a druggist's apprentice. Walgreen remained there until, at the age of 20, he then borrowed $20 from his sister Clementine and moved to the big city of Chicago. While there, he worked in drugstores and studied pharmacy in his free time. These were financially difficult times for Walgreen. At one point, he only had 5 cents to his name. Instead of frugally counting the pennies, he instead went out and bought a 2-cent newspaper and threw the remainder in the Chicago River in hopes that it would bring him good luck. In 1897, he became a registered pharmacist. When the war with Spain broke out in 1898, Walgreen signed up in the Illinois National Guard and was shipped off to Cuba. According to Walgreens Online, malaria, yellow fever and typhoid were rampant there at the time, and he fell victim to their effects. The doctor at one point took his pulse and told the orderly, "This person is as good as dead." At that point, he was listed as a casualty, and the news reported his death, albeit premature. After serving in the Spanish-American War, Walgreen returned to Chicago and worked at a small neighborhood drugstore owned by Isaac W. Blood. In June 1901, he purchased Blood's store for $6,000 with the help of $2,000 he borrowed from his father. In 1909, when another of his former employers retired, Walgreen acquired his store and organized C.R. Walgreen and Company. This store was critical to his success, as it was one of the busiest and most important drugstores on Chicago's South Side. In 1902, Walgreen married Myrtle R. Norton of Normal, Illinois. They had 2 children, Charlotte Ruth and Charles R. Walgreen Jr., who became a registered pharmacist in Michigan in 1928. In 1935, Walgreen withdrew his wife's niece from the University of Chicago, publicly charging that she was being indoctrinated with un-American teachings. A full-scale investigation of the university by a committee of the Illinois legislature found the allegations to be without merit. Ultimately, Walgreen gave the university $550,000 in 1937 for the establishment of the Charles R. Walgreen Foundation for the Study of American Institutions. An aviation enthusiast, Walgreen also donated the Dixon Municipal Airport to his hometown. He was an active Mason and loyal Republican. Occasionally, he added additional stores, whose management he turned over to young men he had trained. According to the Walgreen history, there wasn't much to distinguish his store from any other drugstore in Chicago, at least not at first. Most passerbys probably didn't even notice that the store had changed hands, unless they looked up at the small, gold-lettered sign over the doorway, C.R. Walgreen, RPH. By 1916, there were 7 stores, and by 1927, the number had grown to 110. The rapid expansion has often been attributed to Walgreen's policy of reinvesting a large part of the earnings back into the business. Walgreen also attempted to distinguish his stores from other drugstores of the day. He installed eye-catching displays and attractively merchandised windows, a direct departure from the drab, lifeless stores people had become accustomed to. Another first was to make his own line of drug products, which enabled him to ensure the highest quality at a low price. Walgreen believed that the traditional drugstore chains had become outdated and that consumers wanted more. He popularized the lunch counter in connection with the soda fountain. The familiar malted milk as a fountain item was reportedly first introduced in one of his stores in the early 1920s. The fountain came about when he leased an adjacent empty building, cut an arc through it, and installed a fountain against the far wall. He made his own brand of ice cream. This was a big hit in the hot summer months, but Walgreen wondered what to do when the cold winter months set in. he decided to sell hot soup and sandwiches, which kept the room active and profitable year-round. The fountain was the main attraction for customers, as were the milkshakes. Customers stood 3 and 4 deep around the soda fountain to buy the double-rich chocolate malted milk, which was thickened with homemade ice cream and flavored by bittersweet chocolate, according to Walgreens' history. Most significant is that his company pioneered the development of much of the modern equipment now in use. Walgreens' clean, well-lit stores were a contrast to the typical dark, dingy store of the turn of the century. Walgreen opened the first of what has often been referred to as the super drugstores in 1934 in Tampa, Florida. It has been described as the first of the modern, open stores, with the merchandise taken out of the traditional showcases and placed on open display counters where customers could see, touch it, and buy it. Walgreen set a goal to make better products than anybody else and to sell them cheaper. As he built his chain, Walgreen became a household word in Chicago during the 1920s. Even through the Depression, Walgreen managed to keep his empire afloat. Surprisingly, in 1933, he boosted his advertising budget to $1 million, and for a time, the stock paid a dividend. That same year, Walgreens helped celebrate Chicago's spectacular century of progress by opening 4 stores on the fairgrounds. These stores experimented with advanced fixture design, new lighting techniques and colors, ideas that helped modernize drugstore layout and design. Walgreen brought his son into the business early on to ensure that the legacy would continue. In 1929, Walgreen Jr. was assisting in the procurement of branch warehouses and manufacturing plants throughout the country. And from 1930 to 1932, he was assistant to the director of purchasing and in charge of all sundries buying. In this position, he developed many new lines of merchandise. As Charles R. Walgreen Sr.'s life journey concluded, the torch of his legacy passed seamlessly to his son, Charles R. Walgreen Jr. Stepping into his father's shoes, Walgreen Jr. inherited not just a thriving business, but also the weight of expectations and the responsibility to uphold his father's vision. Walgreen Jr. succeeded his father as president when the senior Walgreen died of cancer in Chicago on December 11, 1939. Walgreen was buried in Dixon. With a deep sense of duty and determination, Walgreen Jr. embarked on his own chapter of the family saga. Under his leadership, the chain of drugstores continued to flourish, spreading its roots far beyond the confines of Chicago. The expansion into Mexico and Puerto Rico marked a bold new chapter in the Walgreens story, solidifying its status as a global powerhouse in the pharmaceutical industry. Joining the company as a humble stockboy in 1952, Walgreen III embarked on a journey of apprenticeship and learning. Under the watchful eye of his father, he imbibed the values and principles that had been the cornerstone of the Walgreen empire. With each passing year, Walgreen III rose through the ranks. As Charles R. Walgreen Jr. approached retirement age, the question of succession weighed heavily on his mind. Who would be entrusted with the monumental task of guiding the company into the future? The answer came in the form of his own son, Charles R. Walgreen III. In 1971, the mantle of leadership passed once again within the Walgreen family, as Walgreen III was elected president and CEO of the company. Stepping into his father's shoes, he faced a world vastly different from the one his grandfather had known. The landscape of retail was changing rapidly, with new challenges and opportunities emerging at every turn. When Walgreen Jr., at the age of 33, succeeded his father in 1939, there were 494 stores in 215 cities in 37 states, with about 12,000 employees. Earnings grew from $439,110 in 1924 to $2.9 million in 1939, and the net worth grew from $85,700 in 1916 to $24.2 million in 1939. He joined the company in 1925 at the age of 19 as a drug apprentice. Yet, as the company grew, so did the challenges. The dawn of the self-service era brought with it new demands and complexities. Walgreen Jr. navigated these turbulent waters with finesse, embracing innovation and technology to stay ahead of the curve. His foresight in computerizing and automating warehouses paved the way for unparalleled efficiency and productivity, setting a new standard for the industry. Undaunted by the magnitude of the task before him, Walgreen III embraced innovation with open arms. Under his stewardship, Walgreens embraced the digital revolution, pioneering new technologies and strategies to stay ahead of the competition. The transition from traditional brick-and-mortar stores to an online presence was seamless, marking a new chapter in the company's storied history. With each passing year, Walgreen Jr.'s leadership propelled the company to greater heights of success. By 1946, sales had skyrocketed, and Walgreens had become a household name synonymous with quality and reliability. But amidst the accolades and achievements, one question loomed large. Who would carry the torch forward into the next generation? As he neared retirement age in 1998, Walgreen III reflected on his tenure with a sense of pride and satisfaction. The company had grown exponentially under his leadership, expanding its footprint across the United States and beyond. Yet amidst the accolades and achievements, one question lingered. What would the future hold for Walgreens in the years to come? Under Walgreen Jr., the chain crossed the US border and ventured into Mexico and Puerto Rico. By 1946, sales had grown to $141 million, with 17,500 employees. Walgreens was the first to fully embrace the self-service concept in the 1950s and 1960s, and among the first retailers to computerize and automate its warehouses. The grandson of the founding Walgreen was succeeded by L. Daniel Jaunt, a non-member of the Walgreen family. The grandson continues as chairman of the board, overseeing all board meetings. Through succeeding generations, Walgreens' vision has continued to expand. Walgreens is ranked as one of the nation's most successful corporations and one of its most admired. In September of 1997, the company announced its 22nd consecutive year of record sales and earnings. Walgreens has been listed among Fortune's most admired corporations in America for the past 4 years, and is one of only 35 companies listed in all 4 editions of the 100 Best Stocks to Own in America by Gene Walden. During the grandson's tenure, Walgreens grew from 618 stores and $800 million in sales in 1971 to become the largest drugstore chain in the United States, with 2,268 stores and $12 billion in sales in 1996. For 20 consecutive years, Walgreens has increased its sales and earning each quarter. Walgreens stores are located in 34 states and Puerto Rico, with the largest concentration in Florida, Illinois, and Texas. Walgreens was an innovator in merchandising, adding many lines of goods to his stores in addition to the stock of pharmaceuticals. His legacy endures in the growing drugstore chain that has flourished under each succeeding generation. As the curtain closed on one era, a new chapter in the Walgreens saga was set to unfold. With a legacy spanning generations, the story of Charles R. Walgreen Sr. and his descendants serves as a testament to the power of vision, perseverance, and the enduring spirit of entrepreneurship. And as the company looks to the future, one thing remains certain: the legacy of Charles R. Walgreen Sr. will continue to endure, inspiring generations to come.